Hey, what's up, everybody? This is an open discussion with C3 Films. My name is Chris, and this is.
Cheryl.
And today we are talking about the first two episodes of season one of Bridgerton. The newest season just dropped on Netflix. I've never seen it before, so we thought that this would be a good time for me to at least come and see it. Cheryl's already seen it. We'll be watching season two, but for the sake of the fact of the new things coming out and starting soon, it's good to revisit the first season and see what started it all. So we are going to be talking about spoilers for the first two episodes at least. I haven't seen past that. Cheryl has, so we'll see. Maybe there's a chance that we might get into more spoilers for the rest of season one. We'll try to keep it just to the first two episodes, but go and watch those, then come back and watch our show. So let's go ahead and get right into this. One day, Cheryl, I will learn to stop doubting you. I promise eventually it'll click. It might just need to happen like two or three more times and then you will earn the permanent trust. But I I I don't know what to say. I didn't want to watch this at all. I legitimately did not want to watch this. I did not think I was going to enjoy it. I was ready to not enjoy it. I literally watched it first out of all the things we were supposed to watch for the purposes of our show on twitch.tv/C3Films because of the fact that I thought I would like it the least. And I went to bed at 4 a.m. and was upset because I wanted to watch another episode and I needed to go to sleep. I don't know how that happened, but it happened.
Um, yeah, so little background. I actually did not want to watch it either cuz I was like, why would I want to watch a show about it's a period piece and when you think period piece, it's like Jane Austen-y
Yeah.
time. Um And so I was like, there's gonna be it's just gonna be another one of those shows with a bunch of faces that I don't relate to, and so I don't want to watch it. Um, and then I heard, because this is my argument for not watching it, my friends were like, oh, no, it's not like that, it's different. It's Shonda Rhimes. And I was like, oh, it's Shonda Rhimes. And for those of you who don't know, Shonda Rhimes did Grey's Anatomy. She did Inventing Anna, one of the things that we had recently discussed. Another one that we didn't think we would like. Another one that Chris didn't trust me on. And she also did Scandal. I'm sure she's done so many other things, but those are the ones that I can just think of off the top of my head. But yeah, this, in a nutshell, it is a period piece. It is very typical period piece drama, but it has a different take on it. And I want to say that the different take on it is that it's not just all white people. There's a mixture of all. There's quite a bit of brown people in it. I don't think there's any. I think there were some Asian people, but they were more like background.
No speaking
Um,
roles yet.
yeah, no speaking roles, but the point is it's different, and I actually quite enjoyed seeing you know uh, the mixture of like this is what it should have been like in the past where like the queen is brown and the duke is brown and I
Yeah.
mean that's it, like I don't know if there are any other people in power who were not brown, um, although the main characters are mostly white, Caucasian, and there are more white characters than there are brown. um, it doesn't seem to bother me that much because sometimes I do kind of look at it like that a lot. I think the other thing that I didn't really register of why I think this show is so like not just addictive but like easy to watch and like making you want to watch because sometimes like when you watch stuff like this you get annoyed and outraged by the way people are, and even in the show people do things that make you angry, because the rules of this time period make you angry, but the characters, especially the women in the show, understand that their lives suck and that they have to do these things because of the rules, but they are still very strong female characters, and they fight for like, you know, the men to understand their problems, and they acknowledge that they are problems, and they also kind of just outwardly say it. They say stuff like a man will not like. I think the mom was saying something about how men will not respect a woman's choice, but they will respect a man's choice. So
Yeah.
they kind of, you know, utilize that um, in a way where, like, well, you know, if they want something done, then they have to uh, kind of manipulate the situation so they can get things moving along. So there's just a lot of that, but yeah, tell me what you thought about
Yeah.
it.
No, I was listening and just thinking to myself, yeah, she's 100% right. There's a lot of things in here that stuck out to me, which is why I enjoyed it. One of the things that I like to do as a writer is I like to create worlds where people are just people, and and they're able to the problems that people have are related to them just being people. So in the case of like Bridgerton, obviously there's still the whole ism of sexism that's still like prevalent in the show. But what I found so interesting was the fact that, at least what I've seen so far, there does not appear to be racism in this world. And I think that's what really caught me off guard, because when you have the brother talking about how he doesn't want his sister to marry certain people, I thought by the time it got to the Duke, I thought it was going to be, you can't marry him because he's this, he's brown, he's dark, he's this or that. I really thought it was going to go there, and when it didn't go there at all, I was able to just sit back and be like, oh, oh, okay, so we're just here. We're just here with royalty, and we're just like everybody else, and everybody respects the fact that they're royalty. Everybody interacts on an equal playing field within this social hierarchy. It's not about skin color at all. It's just they look at each other as equals and as people, and they're able to like move through life in that way. And I was like, oh, okay, this is different. I didn't expect this at all. I'm on board. Let me check this out. And yeah, and as far as like, so there is still an ism which relates to how the women are still considered to not have high social standings within their social hierarchy. But the fact is that, and you got to imagine that it probably was this way in the past. They have to be smart to get what they want, and they have to manipulate situations. They have to manipulate men, or however they have to, whatever they have to do to have the life that they wish for themselves. And it was interesting to me because like there are points when, like you said, you get upset because of like the time period that it's trying to express. So when the Daphne, when she's talking about how, you know, all she has is marriage, this is what she's been bred for, and this is the only thing that she can do. And even when her mom is talking to her about like, well, you know, you'll put your work into your kids and things like that, like there's a part of me that's just like, that just from my personal feelings, I'm like, oh wait, no, there's more. No, what are you talking about? Why are you saying that to your daughter? But it's working within the confines of the time period that it takes place in. So the way they talk to each other about how to navigate their social standing, how to navigate their situations is realistic. And I like that. So I like this element of, listen, based off of what I know life to be, this is it. And so if this is it, I'm going to try to create the best version of this as I possibly can. If I have to be married off, I want to be sure that I'm married to somebody that I actually love. And I'm going to do everything in my power to set that up. And like when it gets into the grand scheme of things, you're like, okay, the world's not ending. It's just marriage, whatever, whatever. But it's more than that. It's their lives. And when you put it in the context of that, and frame it in that way, it's like, yeah, this is a big deal because this is all you know and this is all you may ever have. So if it means that you have to play this game to try to get yourself to have these great, like, these suitors that are going to be more towards your benefit, then you got to play the game. And that is another thing that caught me off guard too. Like, I didn't know what the show was going to be. We talked about on the Umbrella Academy how they set up what the entire season's going to be by the end of it, and this did something similar too. When they meet each other and they concoct their plan, I, coming into it without knowing anything, thought it was going to be a romantic thing about. I'm not gonna lie, I thought it was going to be about this brown guy liking this white woman, and there was going to be problems because of racism and everything else like that. But turns out, not only is there no racism, them being together is a ruse. And I'm like, this is really interesting. And of course, I suspect that they'll actually start to fall for each other. Maybe he'll start to fall for her first. It seems like it's going that way. But just the standpoint of, we don't actually like each other, but we're going to pretend like we're together so that I can be left alone and you can get good suitors. I said, okay, all right, guys, that's an interesting premise. I'm on board. I'll watch a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, like if you were to like say it out loud, like, because I tell people they should watch this all the time, and I still can't convince my boyfriend to watch it. But I mean, it's just hard to explain, right? Because it's so simply put. Like when you say it out loud, it doesn't sound intriguing because it's a period piece. There's people of color in it. It doesn't matter. Like, yeah, I guess that's the twist. But also, like, the female characters are suppressed, but they're also, like, kind of badass, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't really sound very interesting. And even the plot doesn't sound interesting because it's kind of a recycled plot. It's something that we've seen before. Um, Basically, two people pretend to like each other, and then, presumably, they and probably end up falling in love with each other, right? Like, there's
Right.
no, like, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, there's no twist to that. It just is
Yeah.
that it's the direction that they're setting it up for, and that's the direction that it's going. But it's really just the interactions between the people. It's the dialogue. The
Yeah.
dialogue really gets me. It's very dialogue heavy, but the things they say are so interesting. And they really put it out there. Like, yes, there is sexism. Sexism is a big thing. It's also classism,
Yeah.
and status. It's issue of status, staying in status, staying in the wealth, and everyone's just deadly afraid of being caught in a scandal, and because that can ruin them. And then you have this narrator voice, which I also hate, but the way they twist it, the way they frame it, is that it's like a gossip newspaper that everybody reads, and that's like how we're being fed the information, as well as seeing the like what's actually happening. So in a sense, the narrator is not just someone that's feeding us information. The narrator is actually an abstract character in the show. So it's just so, I mean, I don't know, like I don't know if I can ever convince my boyfriend to watch it, but it's just so hard to pitch this show. It's kind of like you just have to see it to like understand why it's so good.
Exactly. And I still feel like it might not be for everybody, but I feel like if you go into it with an open mind, the show can surprise you. It's very well written, and like you said, very well, has very good dialogue, very well acted, and it keeps being intriguing. I actually rewatched two scenes in the first two episodes. The first scene I rewatched was the conversation between the mother and the son when they were talking about responsibility, and it's such a great scene because you can see the power shift in the actual conversation. It starts off with the brother basically kind of talking badly to the mother about what she's doing as far as Daphne's future, and how he has responsibility, and then it shifts because you find out that the mother knows about how the brother is going and having a mistress, and is not going to sire an heir, which is his responsibility, but is looking to have his two younger brothers do it. And she basically says to him, "You have to choose if you want to be. Are you the man of this family, or are you the oldest son or the oldest brother?" And he's have to think about it, but it also gets him to make a choice. He makes a choice based off of that conversation. And then the second scene I rewatched was with these same two characters after they're able to get Daphne out of marrying the Baron, which was a really cool plan that they enacted using that gossip columnist whose word seems to be more powerful than the queen itself, which is really amazing. And yeah, in that scene where the mother basically tells, like, it's not it plays out in a way that's different than how I'm going to express it, but in the short term, it's basically her saying, "You may be the man of the house, but I'm the actual leader of the house." And that was such a cool moment between those two. I loved it.
I agree. That's definitely one of my favorite scenes. Very memorable, and another great example of just pure good writing, in sense of dialogue. Like again, the dialogue in the show is probably what you watch it for. Like you can probably just listen to it only and get, it's like the opposite of Umbrella Academy, right? Like for this one, you can watch it by just listening to what they're saying and then get the story that way. But for Umbrella Academy, you can just watch it and not listen to it and get an idea of what's happening. So it's like the complete opposite there. But yeah, I mean, it's just even for me, the like Eloise is not in the competition of trying to get a husband yet. And they make it clear that she wants to go to school. Like she's not interested in men. And she has this like this really close relationship with her best friend Penelope. But Penelope has a crush on her brother, and so there's like, you'd think that this is a romance, but it's not. It's about the women and their lives and what they have to go through. But I just thought, I really think that Eloise is a cool character because she's very rebellious. She's the most rebellious, but she's also, abiding by the rules. She just is doing it, with an attitude.
Now, Eloise is actually my favorite character. I'm glad you brought her up because something about her continence and the way she speaks, like, I'm all for it. But she even has some of the funniest moments. One of a moment that legitimately had me laughing was when she comes in and she says, "I thought that you needed to be married to have kids. Apparently it's not even a requirement." And I like the way she just flippantly just says it, and you can tell that she's trying to figure it out, and she knows that she's being lied to, and she wants to know the truth, but no one's telling her the truth, and the way she's expressing it is just, it's so much fun. And then she sits by her brothers and she says, "I'm assuming the two of you know," and you can see the looks on their faces. They're trying not to like tell her. And it's great, and it reminds you that, yeah, you know what? These conversations about sex, they still don't necessarily happen that much today, but back then, it was even worse, I imagine. So, if someone asks where babies come from, and you say, "Oh yeah, when you're married, you have like babies come from being married," then you're like, "Oh, okay. Who's gonna tell them otherwise until they're older?" So I thought that was a cool little element that the show put in there, because these kids are literally going around being like, "Wait a second, your maid is pregnant, but she's not married. I thought that you had to be married. What? Something's wrong. That's not right. That should be impossible." And of course, we all know it's like, okay, well, we know what it actually is. And then when they go and they ask her again, she says, "Well, it's love." And so it's still not really the truth. It's I see what she did there, but it doesn't help these girls figure it out.
Yeah,
So I
and then
really like
even
that
then,
element.
yeah, that was I was definitely gonna bring that up too because I thought it was funny and I thought it was really cute and interesting. Just like, it circles back to education that they don't have that education, to like know how their own bodies work. And I just think it's funny because like first they thought it was marriage, and then they're like, oh, but then like this other person said that it's love, and then like wait, but that doesn't make sense. That doesn't match up because like they know that people who are married don't necessarily love each other, but somehow they make kids. So then it makes it even more confusing for the two of them, and they're like on a mission to figure out like where do babies come from. Um, and then there's just like I can't say without spoiling it, but there's also just the whole idea of these girls are just generally inexperienced with sex, and you just really see that like throughout the series. So and it's kind of like we're watching them learn about womanhood, and
Right.
that is kind of one of the themes of the show. So
Okay.
it's
Yeah,
about women.
I'm excited to see that, see more of that because that's something that caught me off guard. Because even Daphne didn't seem like she knew the answer either, which is interesting because Daphne's looking for a husband right now, so it's like she's gonna find out soon. Um, and the Duke himself, I want to talk about him briefly. I was happy to start seeing some of his backstory. They have this whole thing. I mean, I'm not going to put all my business out there, but let's just say, Cheryl, you'll understand this. Me and the Duke have something in common about how we feel about certain attachments in life, and how he makes certain vows. And so, like, I found that very interesting, and I was like, "Oh, okay, but what is this? What's this based in? Why does he feel this way? What is this about?" Like, people who make that choice or feel that way have a certain reason why they feel that way. And then you get to see more about his childhood. You get to see that he wasn't always this suave, very good looking, very well spoken guy. Like as a kid, good looking kid, but he had trouble speaking, and because of the times, he was considered to be like dumb as opposed to just being a kid that has a stutter or just needs some encouragement and can grow out of it because he's a kid. So the fact that his father was so much about like continuing the line that he didn't even let his wife hold her baby after it was born, didn't even, and she was even just praying that she was able to give him a son as if it's like her choice and not like as if it doesn't take two people to make a baby. um and so like the father was, for all intents and purposes, just a monster of a human being. And so to see that by the end of the second episode, he made a vow that the reason he's not getting married is actually because he's trying to stick it to his dead father. He wants to make sure that he never sires an heir, so that the line that his father was so concerned with prevailing throughout history is going to die with him, and that would be the ultimate revenge for how his father slighted him. And I was like, oh, okay, now that's a cool motivation, bro. You are so dedicated to being like, screw you, that you're like, you're dead and gone, and I am still going to carry out this vow. You're not even alive to see it, but the fact that I know that I succeeded in it is enough to make me follow through. And I'm like, I applaud you for that one. That's some commitment, brother.
Yeah, you're just like him. No, I'm just kidding. Nah, he looks way better than you. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my
Kidding
gosh.
again, kidding again. Um, although I have to say, I do not dislike. I mean, he's very easy on the eyes. Like,
I have to say
very
it too.
easy on the eyes.
That is an attractive man right there.
Like, I would like to meet this guy one day, even though he's a famous actor. But anyways, going back to like just the whole thing about him like caring more about the birth of his child than his wife. It's another way, I think, or another instance where they're showing how little people care about the women. Where like he didn't even care that she died. He cared more about having a boy than his wife dying.
Yep.
So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. So the show, like, it's man, it hooked me. I don't know what else to say. I didn't expect it. I this is my second Shonda Rhimes show I'm watching in the last 2 weeks because I actually did finish Inventing Anna, and have talked to other people about Inventing Anna because of how well that show is written and how well those characters are done. So to come and watch this, which she did before Inventing Anna, like apparently I'm just like on a Shonda Rhimes kick now.
I mean, she has good stuff. So it's her stuff is very different. It's very unique, and it's very pro diversity, and that's why anytime I hear something is by Shonda Rhimes, I'm like, oh, I want to see it because usually her stuff is pretty good. So
Nice. But yeah, I'm excited to see more. Is there anything we didn't touch on that you just wanted to like mention real quick?
yeah, I wanted to point out the music. I actually quite enjoyed the music. Part of it, or part of the reason why, is because they actually at times use modern music, but in the style of the period. So
I
I,
noticed that.
yeah,
Yes.
you did. It's not that unnoticeable, but it is one of the things that I like the best because I know that usually her shows use modern music like the hits of the day, and which is nice because it's never really the sometimes it is, but um, a lot of the times it's like a different rendition of the song, done in a different way to fit the mood. And that's exactly what this is. Again, it's modern music done in a different way to fit the mood, to fit the theme of the show. And so it's just exciting, and I really like instrumentals. So to hear music that we are familiar with in that way is really fun for me. I really enjoyed it.
It's so good because there were times I think when it first happened, I asked myself, I said, why does this sound familiar? Like you're hearing something that you swear you know, but at the same time you shouldn't know it because of like the time setting that this is in. And then I realized, oh, they're doing instrumentals of modern songs within the time period itself. That is brilliant because it's not only just like cool to listen to, but it's a nice aesthetic choice and like building your world. So I was like, all right, yeah, I'm
Yes.
glad you mentioned the music because I had forgotten about that, but that was
Yeah.
something that caught me off guard.
I think it also just kind of makes you feel connected. Like you feel like you relate to the feeling of the music because you are already familiar with it, but it's not overbearing. It's not like it doesn't throw you off because it's still in the style of the period. And so it still fits in with the show and the style of the show, but it's something that you are familiar with, and that's kind of awesome to do because when you watch a period piece, the music is quite boring because it's just
Yeah.
instrumental, right? But then now we have modern instrumental, so it's more captivating, and I think a big part of that is because we know the music.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes it more engaging because of that level of connection. So it, yeah, it pulls you in even more and makes it so that even if it's a scene that could otherwise kind of be bland or boring, you're not as bored or bland because one, you're trying to figure out what that song is, and two, once you figure out what that song is, you're like, oh my god, that's so cool, and now you're just taking it all in. So
It's my
absolutely.
jam.
Oh man. But yeah, was there anything else or is that it?
No, that was it.
So yeah, that's what we thought about Bridgerton. So the next season two is out, I believe now. Yes, out on Netflix right now. So Are you guys going to watch season 2? Have you seen season 1? After we talked about it, do you now want to check out season 1? Did it like surprise you with the music? Did it surprise you with the lack of racism? Did it surprise you with the way that these female characters try to take agency in within their sexist world? Whatever you thought about it, comment below. Let us know. And while you're down there, give us a like, share, and subscribe. Even if you don't, though, I have been Chris, and this has been
Cheryl, and we'll see you all next time.